Hi, this is Geek. Welcome to Friday Night Chats. I thought I'd try a new angle. So I'm a little bit worried because I'm using a tripod that's coming up from the floor, and if my dogs run in, all they have to do is tap it and boom, it falls down. Whatever, we'll see if this works. I'm going to start with a couple of images from the air quality that happened from all the fires on the east coast of the United States. So I think they was coming down from Canada, right? But these images are gorgeous. I mean, you couldn't breathe the air, but they actually look like they're sepia from, photos from the 1920s. Look at that. That is gorgeous. That looks like the cover of a Woody Allen movie. And look at this one is my favorite. Look at that one. That is just so cool. A book that I finished this week was the third in the trilogy, but there's actually 6 books. So it's number 3, The Life, the Universe, and Everything by Douglas Adams. So as I've said before, I'm listening to these books because I think it's important. I'm not a fan of comedy per se, and also this is British humor. So there's a lot going on with cricket in this book. I'm going to say I didn't hate it. Again, I tolerated it. I got through it. It's not bad by any means. If you like this stuff, you're going to enjoy this book. I thought this one was, for the 3, very enjoyable. It started and ended with something that was pretty funny. I'll tell you what it started with. So it's not much of a spoiler since it's at the beginning of the book, right? So there's this immortal, and he has no sense of purpose until he realizes what he will do is he will spend eternity jumping through time, and he will go up to every single being in the universe and insult him or her. And I thought that was the wackiest idea. So it starts, the book starts where this guy is stranded back, I think, in prehistoric Earth. And this, being pops up and calls him a jerk, insults him, and then just goes on his way. That's how the book starts. I thought that was pretty funny. So I got one thing gave me a chuckle from this book. I just made a video. In fact, I need to edit it and post it. But the Friday Night Comic Book Challenge this week was to remember John Romita Sr., who passed away this week. Now, he was a giant in the comic book world. So important. I don't even know how I can stress how important this man's work was, especially for me, because I grew up on his work. So for me, he's extremely important. And he's credited with creating one of the most important panels in comic history. Face it, Tiger, you hit the jackpot. And that is where Peter Parker first meets Mary Jane Watson. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in my the video that I made, but I thought that I would share that with you. And notice, one of the most important panels in comic history isn't even a superhero panel, right? It's from real life. Pretty awesome. To me, that just goes to show how important character is. A couple movies that I watched this week. So we've been alternating. So my husband picked one, I picked one, and so my husband picked 2 Spanish language movies. So the first one was El Último Vagón, and so that means the last car, or I can't remember, is the caboose the last car on a train, or is that the front one? Couldn't remember. So anyways, it's basically the last car on the train, and this is about a migrant worker's son who ends up in this town with this teacher, and he makes friends. So they travel, and they're building the train system, and they travel from town to town, and he forms all these attachments, and he can't read, and this teacher goes out of her way to really help him become educated. I'm going to say that this is one of those kind of movies that is trying to pull at your heartstrings. I think it does succeed. The acting performances are very, very good. But if you're jaded against this kind of movie, you'll see through it. I'm kind of jaded. For example, I hated Beaches. So if you're someone that liked the movie Beaches, you will like this movie. I will admit that I did like it, but I won't say it's the bee's knees. I do want to focus on this actress. She's good. the English-speaking world will know her in Babel, and also Drag Me to Hell. She just chews up every scene. She is so good as an actor. So she made the movie for me. She was very good. Another movie that I picked. This is the one I picked, was 3,000 Years of Longing. I picked it because that dude is hot. Okay, I like Idris Elba, and I didn't know much about it. So I was like, let's watch it. Now this poster, I don't know if you could see, but all along there's like stuff all along, and those are all things that happen in the movie. This movie poster is so cool. I would actually like to own that movie poster because of all the detail and the just the artistic layout of it. I think it's a really cool movie poster. And then at the end of the movie, in the credits, I saw that it was based on a novelette by A.S. Byatt, which I know, and I've never read it. I have read at least 2 of her novels, right? And she won the Booker Prize for Possession, which I have read. And so I was happy to see that connection at the end. So many times I go into these movies not knowing anything, and which I should have known that before starting the movie. Would I recommend this? This movie is weird and wonderful. It's going to be confusing at times. You're not always going to know what's going on, but the visuals there, right? And the storytelling, it's going to jump back and forth in time to tell the genie's story. I enjoyed it a lot, but I don't know if everyone will. It's just one of those, how do I put this? It's kind of like a more literary minded movie, right? So if you're into the Booker Prize, then you will like this movie, right? Because it's based on a Booker Prize winning novelist's book. I don't know if you're into like beautiful visuals. This one has beautiful special effects, and it weaves this really beautiful and magical story. I don't know, but I don't think this is for everyone. I would say give it a shot if what I said interests you. I also watched the last 40 minutes of Avatar, and the thing was, my husband and I stopped Avatar right before the last battle scene. And wow, when we started it again, that battle scene was amazing. It kind of took my breath away. Like, it's so good. But I'm gonna say that with a grain of salt, right? Because I've sat through many really good movies that are all special effects, and one of them that's coming to mind is like Transformers or Aquaman. So Aquaman was so long, right? And I really, really liked it. But by the time it got to the battle scene, I think my eyes were fatigued from CGI or something, and I just got really bored, and I wanted it to be over with. Now, I think because I took a short break before watching that final climactic battle scene, I think I was like all on board. I think that made a huge difference. I don't know. I don't know if I had watched like the whole 3 hours. It's over. I think it's a little bit over 3 hours. If I had watched it all in a row, if I would be raving about it as much. Since it's on streaming, I say, hey, take a little break in the middle, get some popcorn, and then jump back into the movie, and you'll probably be golden. I actually found the second Avatar to be much better than the first in so many ways. And I think it's just because what they did with the CGI, it's come leaps and bounds. And I mean, they made huge leaps forward with the first movie. I just think there's a lot to this second Avatar movie. And I say watch it, but take a little break, and you'll be really good. My husband picked a movie today, and then we started watching, and we're like, hey, we've already seen this one. So we had to hurriedly pick another one. So we picked this, The Whole Truth. And it's got this hole because there's a hole in the wall behind them. And the movie focuses around this hole. Now, this is a movie that's Thai, right? And it's a horror movie. And I'm going to say that if you're a true horror aficionado, you'll like this movie. To me, I was like, not a bad movie. It was overly long. And what it did was, it seemed to be one of those movies where it would have a climax and then it would try to one-up that climax and then one-up that climax again, trying to throw in twist and turn and curve. And by the end, after like the third different climax, you're just, with each one, you lost more and more believability and credibility in the movie. I don't know. I would say because of that, and because of like they were dragging it out, it like moved at its own pace for a modern movie. I would say that this is a 3 out of 5. So if you're a horror aficionado, you might give this a try. I think everyone else can skip this one. I have 2 more things to discuss. I'm cleaning up my room. I'm getting ready to go on vacation, and I want to leave my room so that my husband can come outside and be with the dogs when I'm not here. And he won't come in here when it's a mess. So I'm like hurriedly trying to, get everything in order. And as I was going through some of my stuff today, I came across some movies with painted covers. And I'm really appreciating painted art right now. So I'm going to show a couple of movies with these gorgeous painted covers. And of course, the first one is the, poster to King Kong. I mean, look at that thing. It's gorgeous. Look at that art. And I'm going to come back to horror because I'm going to show more of those. Look at this one, Murder My Sweet. What do you think about that one? I think that's a lovely cover. Out of the Past. Now, does that just scream like, what is it, noir? What is that called? What's the term for the movie's called? Something noir. All right, here. This one isn't as nice because there's so much covering, so many words covering it up, but look at this. Betty Davis, gorgeousness. Here's another Betty Davis, Watch on the Rhine. And so you really have to kind of zoom in to get this art, because like over half of the cover, almost 2/3 is writing. And then we have The Old Maid. So most of these are Betty Davis covers. And I don't even know if that's painted art. That's probably not. It just looks like a photo that's been touched up. What you would call it, like with a filter or something like that. Probably a black and white photo that's been colorized. But since I pulled out all these Betty Davis movies, I thought I'd show them. So I'm going to quickly go through, I love trotting these out. Okay, so the painted covers for the Universal Monsters. I mean, these things are so awesome. Look at that. Go, Dracula, go. Look, there's Frank. There he is. Okay, The Mummy. Look at these. So, which one is your favorite of all of the covers that I showed? I could try to show some more as I'm going through my collection. I'm also going to show just 2 random books. One is Say No to Murder. I picked this up solely for the cover. I loved the artwork on that cover. And then this one is the classic Dandelion Wine. I just think that is just the creepiest cover. I don't know why, but this just screams creepy to me. Okay, my dog he's kind of creeping up on my camera right now. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about today, which is going to be the majority of the time, is that on my Tuesday chat, or was it Wednesday? My Tuesday or Wednesday chat, I talked about the fact that the French Connection movie was censored. And a lot of people responded to that, and they were putting in comments and questions. And so I thought I would do a little bit of research, because that's my problem. I always open my mouth without doing, the proper research. So I thought I would give a few more facts and examples. I have two pages of notes, so you're going to see me looking at my notes. I just want to, give some background information. People are calling this historical revisionism, which is an interesting title for it, right? So revising things after the fact. I have a history with censored movies because I was in both Saudi Arabia and South Korea, and I would go to see movies at the movie theater in in South Korea, and there would just be whole chunks of the movie gone. And I would go to the movies knowing that the government did this. They had a strict policy, and if there was something in the movie they didn't like, they just cut the entire scene out. Boom. So you would get these movies that were like all chopped up. It's pretty awesome. I remember the movie Falling Down, which is a Michael Douglas movie, and that was banned in Korea for a long time. and they finally showed it in Korea. The reason it was banned is because there's a lot of scenes of violence against Korean grocery shop owners, right? So if you're not familiar with the plot of that movie, he gets so sick of basically life that he just goes on a rampage. Like so many bad things are going on his life. He abandoned his car and he just starts walking through the city, and everywhere he stops, it just gets more and more violent. Yeah, South Korean movies, I'm used to them being censored. But like I said, I knew it. I would go into a theater, I would pay my money just because I was in another country and I wanted some exposure to some, American culture or movie culture, right? And another thing was in Saudi Arabia, so there were no movie theaters in Saudi Arabia, but you would get things there, of course, all cut up, right? But then they would censor the cover art. Like if they had two people kissing, they would draw over it. Or if they had like a woman that had too much exposed here, they would draw a dress on the cover art of like the CD or whatever. It was like I bought so many CDs and movies like that. It was actually, to me, kind of amusing while I was there, but it was just, that's what they did. We're going to talk about, I don't know why, did I even need to mention all that? Just kind of my own personal history with censorship. What's been going on? Okay, this is not the first time that this has been happening. So Netflix altered a scene in Back to the Future 2. But they quickly fixed it after fans found out about it and there was an outcry. Okay, so I guess he finds a girly magazine or a porn magazine, right? And it's called Ooh La La. And they edited that out. They changed it, or they got rid of it. But the problem was, it's an important moment in the movie because the main character realizes that time has been altered because it's supposed to be an almanac. And then when he sees a porn magazine, he realizes that time has been changed. But if that's out of the movie, it's like an important moment in the movie, and they cut that. And so that doesn't make sense. Splash, Daryl Hannah's butt has been given CGI hair. Like they have her hair and they add CGI hair to cover up her butt on streaming platforms. Lilo and Stitch on the I guess on the Disney platform, I get them mixed up, either Lilo, Stitch. Anyways, the little girl, she climbs into a dryer, and I guess they didn't want kids to think that it's okay to hide in dryers, and so they edited that and they changed it to a table with a pizza box on the front. So in Toy Story 2, there's a blooper at the end where one of the characters jokes about getting someone on the casting couch or something like this. I kind of remember that one, right? It's a funny little thing for adults. They removed that on the streaming services. There's an episode of The Simpsons that was removed from Hulu because it has a Michael Jackson vocal performance. And that one, the entire episode was removed from Hulu after the documentary about Michael Jackson came out. Okay, so that's some of the things that have been happening recently. Not all, by any means, but these are the kind of things that have been going on leading up to this moment in, the French Connection. When the French Connection is on Criterion Channel, there was no statement as to why this scene was removed. Now, it's really strange because the Criterion Channel is for movie aficionados, right? And so there would be no reason to edit a movie that is on the Criterion Channel, because it is for serious movie lovers, people who are interested in film. And there was no mention as to why this was done. Fans saw it and were like, well, that's weird. Because first of all, the editing was really clunky, right? It kind of jumped. And so then they realized that there was a 6-second scene gone. That was 10 minutes into the movie. And it's an important scene because it establishes Gene Hackman's character as a frankly racist cop. And that's important to the character. Now, Gene Hackman did not want to say those words. In fact, he almost didn't take the role because of it. Gene Hackman, well, I can't say this, but I don't believe Gene Hackman was a racist. I mean, I don't know Gene Hackman. I mean, he played in Mississippi Burning, right? And so that's just speculation on my part. But he plays a racist in this movie, and it's in 1971. Without warning, that scene is cut. That led people to investigate. So people who had bought it digitally checked. They bought it before that cut. It is now cut digitally on their copies as well. And this is something that's really important, right? So when you buy something digitally, you actually don't own it. It's basically like renting it, and it can be taken away from you at any time, right? If a system closes or something, you lose it, right? You don't really own it. And so they can go back and change something you've already bought. And that's what's happening, right? So the people who are streaming the movie say, hey, I bought this movie, a while ago. Now it's been altered, right? That scene is gone. And one YouTuber brought up the issue, well, what's going to happen? Oh, and then I guess it was screened at the Arrow in Santa Monica, but I didn't look this up. And they, again, that is for people who are film lovers. And the edited version of the movie was shown to, in a movie theater. But I actually didn't look that up and verify it. Okay, so one person online was saying, well, what's going to happen when they put out the 4K version of this movie? Let's say they move, they're moving to the next platform. See, you're bad. That's why you're bad. Now I got to edit this whole thing. So if they put this movie out on 4K, are they going to put out an edited version? Is this the version moving forward? I wanted to talk about the fact that there are disclaimers to movies right at the beginning. And this has actually gone through a history. Like originally there in the United States, I don't know what the system is like in other countries, but we have G, PG, PG-13, R, and X. Okay, so those, I believe, for example, in England, they use a number system, right? I've seen 18 on it. So in the United States, we use that. If something is PG-13, we know that, hey, kids of a certain age are not really supposed to watch this without parents, right? If it's R, then children are not supposed to watch it at all, right? So this system is to help parents understand what should and should not be seen by younger viewers. When I remember this when it started coming to a lot of cable stations, right? So they would put, for example, PG-13 or R, and then they would list the kind of things that were in the movie, right? Okay, like language or violence or what have you. First they went from that letter system, then they went to being more specific, and why isn't that enough? Why can't you just say at the beginning, in that, racially insensitive language or something like that? Now, they've also, gone and put a warning. Okay, warning, there in this movie contain, okay, I get it. You really, really want to prepare your audience for the fact that there might be something objectionable in the movie. Still, I find that that's okay. Right? I think it's overkill, right? We already saw the placard with the, the disclaimer and whatever. And so now they're just going to remove it. Boom. All right. I want to talk about some cartoons, for example. And that's going to lead me to another topic. I recently saw online when I was investigating this, and I probably saw this as a kid. I remember this cartoon. There's a Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's playing a cowboy. And he's shooting Native Americans, right? And he sings a song, 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indian, as he's shooting them. And then he says, oh, that one doesn't count because it's a half-breed. And of course, this is very objectionable today. Now, the interesting thing historically is, how was that ever okay, right? It's mind-boggling for us, or for me, to think that this is something on television for children. And that was considered okay, right? But if we remove that from history, I mean, I'm not saying that we should show this to children, right? That cartoon should not be shown. But I don't think it should be like banned or never shown ever again to an adult audience, because I think it's important historically to know the history, right? And there's so many, for example, war propaganda posters, which were, anti-Japanese, and they characterize them. Or, for example, in the Holocaust, when the Germans would draw Jews as rats, right? These things are important historically, and that's the basis, some of the basis of the comic book Mouse. If you've never read that, that's an amazing piece of art that I think, by Art Spiegelman, that I think everybody should read. That's an amazing comic book. And I think what the cable companies are saying is, like, we don't have any control of whether children watch this or not. So we're just going to be preemptive and take it out whether we want you to or not. I think that's kind of what they're doing. I actually wanted to look this up and I forgot. So supposedly the crows in Dumbo are racist. I wanted to look that up because I wanted to see a scene. Peter Pan mentions the red man. And then the soot on the faces in the famous Mary Poppins dance is supposedly a reference to blackface. And there's actually more that I'm going to say on Mary Poppins, because there's a whole part of Mary Poppins that was... Oh, wait, I actually have it right here. So the Mary Poppins novel was banned from one library. The reasons that they gave was it's out of date, it's unpopular, and it's poorly written. It's full of stereotypes about women and non-white races. And then finally, the librarian just says, it's not a very good book. Now, that's really funny. So you're going to ban a book because it's not a very good book? Well, wouldn't you have to get rid of like half the novels? Not every novel that's on a shelf is a good novel. I think you need to get rid of the whole romance section. Sorry if you like romance books, but that's just like a really crazy thing to say. We're going to ban it because it's not a very good book. I just thought that was a really poor ending argument. So some excuses that the companies have given. Oh, they got the wrong copy. They accidentally used the edited for an overseas market, or edited for television copy, etc. I got through my first page of notes. Hey, you only got one more. Not recently. So Steven Spielberg edited Guns out of E.T. So there were police officers, or just officers, I'm not sure what's now officers, whatever, government officials were chasing children, and they were armed with guns. And he edited that out, and he replaced it with walkie-talkies. And he actually has come out to say that he regrets it. It's a mistake to do that. It was representative of the time. At the time, they didn't think that was wrong. Now we look back on that and we think it's wrong. He regrets removing that for today's modern sensibilities. Roald Dahl has been a very controversial writer. So recently, his books have been... So Roald Dahl is very famous for so many books. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and The Witches, and James and the Giant Peach. And you can go on and on and on. So Matilda, so many books that he's written for children. He is very clearly on the record for saying anti-Semitic remarks. Okay, and so his books have been heavily edited for offensive language. There were hundreds of changes made to his books by Puffin, which is, a branch of Penguin Books. So there's a new 2023 edition. And what has been removed? Fat, ugly, crazy, all edited out. Language related to gender, weights, and appearances have all been edited. For example, here are some specific examples. Augustus Gloop is no longer called fat. He's called enormous. In one passage, he was called enormously fat, and that was edited to he is enormous. Oompa Loompas are referred to as small men, and that has been changed to small people. More on the Oompa Loompas in a bit. But what's really strange is that not only did they take out, but they added to the author's words. In The Witches, there's a line, it says that they are bald under their wigs, and they added a line There are plenty of other reasons why women might wear wigs, and there is certainly nothing wrong with that. Added. The author did not write that sentence. It was added. Women's jobs were particularly paid attention to and changed. So, for example, instead of being cashiers in supermarkets, they are now top scientists and business owners. So Salman Rushdie, many have denounced this. Salman Rushdie, of course, is a victim of the fatwa. He got stabbed in August. He lost his vision in one eye. He has nerve damage. I'm a follower of Salman Rushdie. I've read many of his books. I want to read you this quote. Suzanne Nossel, CEO of the Free Expression Advocacy Group, PEN America, called the changes alarming. Here's a quote. Amidst fierce battles against book bans and strictures on what can be taught and read, selective editing to make works of literature conform to particular sensibilities could represent a dangerous new weapon, Nossel tweeted. Those who might cheer specific edits to Dahl's work should consider how the power to rewrite books might be used in the hands of those who do not share their values and sensibilities. Some other changes. Mothers and fathers are now called family. Ladies and gentlemen are called folks. Boys and girls are children. Cloud men are cloud people. And these are very interesting changes. The color changes. The worm in James and the Giant Peaches was described as having lovely pink skin, and that was changed to lovely smooth skin. And that one surprised me the most because I guess you're not allowed to refer to pink skin in a positive way. That's really surprising. And then the next thing they wrote is that the spider isn't described as black, even though the spider is a hero in the book. One of the heroes in James and the Giant Peach. Very interesting. This is not the first set of changes to these books. So the Oompa Loompas were changed in 1971 because they were originally African pygmies. And so that description was changed. Since this has happened, there's been a large outcry. And so Puffin has decided to release 2 editions of the books. They will publish the original forms of the books as well, and I think they're going to be called the classic editions. I've spoken about this topic overly long, right? I wanted to provide some more background, some more examples of what's going on and why people are upset and how it's affecting the industry. It's interesting because people who own and support physical media, like they're being championed in a way because, with digital media, you don't own it. It's kind of scary because it can be changed at any time or it can be taken away from you. And so you don't really own it. That is my Friday night chat. I know I spoke a lot on a variety of topics. Please, I love the comments. If you could put any comments below. And I want to thank you for your support.